everybody. My name's Stephen Bowles, founder of Shoflo, and I'm here on another episode of the production channel. I'm joined by my good friend, Clem Harrod. What up, Clem?
Shatter. What's going on, Bowlesy?
Hey, man. Not much. I'm excited about today because we get to change it up a little bit. The last couple of weeks we've been talking with lighting designers and video directors and audio, but today we're actually going to venture over into another side of the industry. It's all the same industry, right? Production, whether that's worship, broadcast, tour, etc. But today we actually get to bump over into worship. But before we do that, real quick, Clem, for those who are joining us first time this week, what are we doing here? What is the production channel?
Well, the production channel is just a place for people of like mind in this industry to be exposed to more than just our individual channels. I'm a video guy. We have some audio people. We have some lighting people. This is just a forum, an open forum for us to just discuss our industry, our lives, challenges we face, and an opportunity for us to grow and expand our knowledge to make sure that our lives are better.
I love it. It's perfect. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we just want a place for our industry to be able to get together and talk. And so our industry is bigger than ourselves. It's bigger than the backstage of one, ballroom in the middle of Las Vegas, or in a broadcast newsroom, or in a church. It's bigger than that. And so that's what we're all about today. And again, that is why I'm excited to have my good friend Andrew Stone on today. He's our guest. Andrew is a production manager with Church-on-the-Move. And Andrew's really unique. He's got actually 25 years of experience both in touring, and then honestly now he's really taken this industry of worship and churches and how they're really bringing this production value that is kind of commonly seen as churches. They have PowerPoint, they have a screen, etc. But now Andrew's really kind of led with Church-on-the-Move that industry to really kind of see that a little differently. So I'll let him tell you about it, but just really excited to have you today, Andrew. So welcome, buddy.
Man, thank you so much. Glad to be here. Glad to discuss some of these really important topics to me. These are all this is stuff that's really important to me. So I'm glad the forum exists to do it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let's kick it off. So Andrew, I mentioned you guys, or you in particular, have some background in touring. Tell me a little bit about that. Where did you get started, and how did you make the switch over to Church-on-the-Move?
It was one of those crazy things where again, it wasn't on my radar at all. It was just I was raised in church and Christian home and all that, so that was great. But this was around I started at Church-on-the-Move in 2005. So I've been here now for that's going on 12 years. So I had an old friend of mine that I had toured with that called me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in 15 years, and he worked here at Church-on-the-Move in Tulsa. And he was the music director, and he just said, "We've got some issues, we've got some problems, we're trying to look for the right people, et cetera, et cetera. Would you be someone we could talk with just to get some ideas and kind of a consulting thing?" And I was like, sure, that's great. So, I come in, we meet up, and all of a sudden, I don't know, it hit me like a ton of bricks that this place was poised to do exactly what I had been doing while touring all these years in a big, big way. And they had big plans. And they're in the middle of the Midwest. This is nowhere. I mean, why would this is nowhere cool. But they had plans on how they were going to make a difference in people's lives and grow and do big stuff. And over a few weeks of, just getting to know them and trying to help, it became clear that, hey, Andrew, would you consider maybe you're the guy we're looking for? Instead of you trying to help us find a guy, maybe you're the guy. And it was some hard decisions on my part because I was trying to change a way of thinking. Right? I mean, church wasn't on my radar. I mean, it wasn't. This is not where you go to be successful in the production business. I mean, this is not the entertainment business. What are you talking about? But all of a sudden I realized that, man, this is a medium that is going to be huge. And these guys are wanting to embrace it and see if it can be a life-changing effort. And so it was
Question for you on that stuff would be when you're looking at your experiences in the tour, things like that out in the world, taking that then into the church sort of venue setup from like a technology and production side of things. What's it like to work in the same venue week after week? What do you guys find are kind of those technical challenges? I mean, I guess in general, tell us a little bit about your setup, right? Give us a little bit of idea of what your production setup is, and then how often do you guys sort of shuffle that and do different sort of production approaches, from week to week?
Yeah, because the difference for us is we're constantly traveling. And so we're in a new venue all the time, like you were with the touring, but like you're in the same place all the time.
There's some cool parts to that. So the biggest change, the thing I liked the most about touring was we had our family, and we had our stuff, and we had our trucks and our buses and all our stuff, and we would make it happen at every different venue. And there was a challenge every day because the four walls changed, but the container changed, but what we had in it didn't. And there was a challenge there to give the fans the same experience as the fans the night before, even though we had a different building and different acoustics and different issues and different locale and different crowd and all that. Okay, so I loved that part. So that was the biggest change when I started working at a church and going, this is the same people every single day. So somewhere this is going to start to like kind of suck a little bit. Like, how are we going to make this interesting? So that is the challenge now is, okay, I don't have to hang PA and new lights every day, but we do have to figure out how to make the content and the experience of what's hitting people in the seats be unique and exciting enough so that they want to come back next week and repeat it. Now that's a challenge. So our setup is based around that. So we've got the thing I was tasked with when I came here was, and we're not pushing so much in this way now, but when I started here was we want to make our experience as close to a concert level experience as you could have in a church. Now in 2005, nobody was doing that, right? I mean, that just wasn't, now it's the trend, and that a lot of people, you can find that similar vibe in a lot of places. 2005, it wasn't really happening much yet. A few places perhaps. So for me, I was going, well, that's all I know how to do is produce concerts. So this is going to work out. Let's try this. So we built our teams and systems and rig in all of our venues over time to do that, to be a concert level experience, the similar volume level, the similar lighting show, the similar infrastructure, the similar stage setup, even down to the way we just pin a stage is exactly what you'd have on a tour. It's all meaning that it's very agile. You can change it and move stuff and adjust stuff and fly stuff in and out very quickly, week to week, like you would have on a tour. Everything's on motors. Everything is it's like an erector set. It can all go together different ways week to week. So that's how we try to attack it from the production side. It's all A-level high-end gear, and it's an A-level staff that we've put a lot of effort into training and putting a lot of time into our team and our volunteers and how we can raise them up to a higher level. That's actually more what you'd find on the road. I mean,
yeah.
So,
and that's what I was going to ask you, because like going from the road in that tour life, you obviously get exposed to a lot of nuances and a lot of different lifestyles that you may not want to be a part of or know aren't in your best interest long term. Now, when you're bringing in, because like you're saying, I started up in the church as well, and you're around people who are trying to help you to be better not just better at this craft, but better people overall. What challenges did you face in changing your mindset to that type of environment and then training up people to have a more passionate mindset toward this task that we're doing?
Man, Clem, that's a great point, and that's a great question. It was so you're exactly right. You've got, in fact, so you take me, and I was my time on the road, I was generally the lone Christian a lot of times on some tours. Oddly enough, you'd get on some tours though, and you'd find out that there's a whole team of guys who are all believers and very, very strict in their faith, and you would have never thought that, just by the way they looked and all that. You'd think they were, devil worshipers or something. So I thought I was pretty centered. I come to church and I realize that I am the crazy dude that has got a lot of rough edges, and I'm thinking, man, I believe in Jesus, and I'm saved, and this is going to be great. And all of a sudden I realized that these people were on a whole different level. Not that they were better than me, but they'd been in church, and a lot of them started at this church, there were a lot of people on staff that started here as children. And they were in the kids' church, and they've been here their entire life, being cultivated and hearing the word every single week. And that wasn't me. I mean, I wasn't on that level at all. So all of a sudden I realized that, man, I'm in a place of leadership. I've got to really get serious about and I am by no means calling myself a pastor. I'm not. I am not that. But I had to get a pastoring mindset, not only for myself, but in order to lead my team and to help cultivate them. Because I started with a team that was pretty beat up. And it wasn't big. It was just a few people. And they were beat up. They really had been through some crap. And they hadn't been taken care of, and it hadn't been cultivated, and it wasn't good. So I had kind of the box of discarded toys, that we had to, okay, can we build this thing back up into something great? But it took a while, and it started with me. Like, I had to get my attitude right, and I had to understand that this was a church and things were going to flow a little differently. Sensitivities were a little different than they were on the road. Everybody was rough and tumble on the road. Here, I needed to relax a little bit. There was a little more, I needed to be a little more sensitive on some subjects. And here's the thing, I had to embrace the volunteer mindset. That was a big deal. I honestly couldn't understand who all these weird people were hanging around all the time. They were.
You mean you're not getting paid for this?
Yeah, for real.
Right.
And
they're not complaining about their day rate all day long.
Seriously, like, where's catering and all that? No, nobody's doing that.
Where's my BFC?
Yes. And I couldn't get it, and I was trying to be genuine and be honoring to these people who were showing up, and I was trying to pay them, like, hey, we need some welding, we're trying to build some stuff backstage, man, I'll take care of you, I'll pay you for the day, and just what you would do on the road. And I was like offending everybody, because they're just like, who's the guy trying to like pay everybody? Well, it was me trying to honor them, but I had no idea that wasn't what they're here for. The honor.
Yeah, you're honoring them by allowing them the opportunity to
serve.
Learn how to do this.
That's right.
So, Andrew, just tell me a little bit about what does it look like? What is Church on the Move's sort of set up, right? You guys have got multiple campuses. Just to put something on like that and have lights, audio, video, the whole, enchilada. What's that look like week to week? How do you get that accomplished on the weekly?
Yeah, what's interesting about our setup is we're focused. We have a huge focus on the production side, which isn't, you can have a lot of gear, but we're really focused on the creative and production elements and how they come together. We think that's a huge part of our influence and the experience that we can provide, for the people coming into our buildings. We do that, and then just in real quickly, our trajectory starting Tuesday. If it was on a graph, it would start low on Tuesday and it would raise up to 100% by Friday. We're on a trajectory where it's all about the weekend in our world. So it's just real easy. Tuesday is planning and starting to get our head around what we're going to do, maybe maintenance, repairing stuff that needs repair, from the previous weeks or weekends. Wednesday starts rehearsal stuff. Thursday we start getting into programming and fleshing out and building up our flow of how we're going to do this stuff. Friday is our finish day. So like today is a Friday, so we're doing the final mastering on all of our audio segments. We are doing our final polish on all the lighting tweaks. We're laying out all of our different cueing and all that stuff that we do from our video graphics and all that. We're getting all that ready to go and what we call show ready on a Friday. And then we come in on Saturday and we start working with volunteers. That's where we come in, and now we've got all this stuff ready to go. We've set the table, basically. We've got information that's in front of everybody, however they need it, in whatever form it needs to be for the teams and campuses. And that's where we kind of, our arms are wide open, and we pull in our volunteers and pull them into the immersion of what we're going to do. And then we focus on execution, a high level of execution for all the services at all the venues. And that's, a lot of people are familiar with the same thing. We've got live feeds going between campuses back and forth, and open comm channels between campuses and venues and rooms and all that technology comes into play. But that's really how that's how we function. We get to Sunday, we get it all done, everything's uploaded, all the broadcast stuff's been archived, everything's done, and then we exhale and know that you've got a Sabbath the next day, and then we do it again.
So tell us about that, like that technical back and forth between campuses. How do you guys do it? Are you doing fiber between the two? Are you doing live streams? And then let's just nerd out on it. How do you get comm, audio, and video back and forth? How do you synchronize it all?
Man, I took a lot of cues from the guys at North Point in Atlanta, and they years and years ago, before a lot of us were messing with this, they had started building a really cool network between the campuses they were building, all based on dark fiber and fiber connectivity in their city. And Atlanta's got a pretty tech savvy, so they have a lot of that available. Well, lo and behold, Tulsa did too, believe it or not. And there's fiber links from several different vendors all around where we go. So we're fiber connected to the different locations. And just between our locations on campus, we've got two main venues on our campus that are separated by a pretty great distance, but we've put in fiber connectivity between all of those so we can send high quality video, HD video, and multi-channel audio, multi-channel comm communication back and forth through all of that. So we don't have to do any streaming technology to actually transfer information. It's all HD quality stuff, high bit rate, all that. So we're fortunate. So we're sending very high quality information. So, and we do have one of our comm channels as a party line, so I can pick up the comm and talk directly to the tech directors at any venue.
Production channel.
Production.
Yes, I'm telling you, and we all hear each other, but that's how we can stay in unison on how we're going to keep our queuing together, because we do have a time slip ability at the other campuses. So when we go live with our message, typically it's just the message originating from the main campus that gets sent to the other ones. Every now and then there's a big cool opener or some other element that we're trying to do, or maybe a common communion time or something like that. But most of the time it's just the speaking, and I think that's pretty normal for most places. But those are things that we need to stay in sync on. So there is a lot of communication that we need to do at certain times in the event where I need everybody to be on the same page. And that also helps us. The hub of the knowledge hub is at the main campus. So if one of the other places is having a technical problem, we've typically got people here that can get on comm and help walk them through it or something. So that's just kind of how all that lays out. Then we've split out. We've got other comm channels, obviously, that aren't talking to everybody. Just like you would have video and the Production 2 channel, and all the venues have their own channels, so they can just talk to their team without being on the party line. So, but anyway, but there is a VOG, which is the voice of God. Maybe I should call it the voice of Andrew thing, where you can pick up the comm and like talk globally to everybody.
Don't be blasphemous with it.
Yeah, no
can't
kidding.
Do that in the church.
It's a little G, right? It's a VO little G.
No false gods. No false gods.
So it's actually really simple, and we try to stay in sync with just all the typical stuff you would normally find in most other large places. And for the most part, man, it's I'm not saying it's flawless, but it's tried and true systems that we have tried to make as simple as we can, and really for the sake of our volunteers, so they can come in and embrace what we're doing and embrace the technology to a certain degree and run with it. So we've tried to just figure it out, in the best way possible. And we're also trying to think of it from the people sitting in the seats on the other end. Would they rather look at an image, like an HD image that we figured out how to send over fiber, or would they rather look at a stream that sometimes is going to have some stream glitches and stuff like that? For us here, we had the fiber available. It was worth us figuring out how to do the encoding and decoding and make it work. That's not available at every location, so everybody can't do that. But for us, it worked out really cool. So
it almost sounds like you're to liken it to the event world, where you have your team that's a part of production meetings throughout the week, your staff that is, and they're sort of going through creative, going through concept, even potentially going through load in the initial tech rehearsals, and then all of a sudden you've got this other show op, or for your case, a volunteer who steps in day of, does those last second rehearsals for the morning, and then actually runs the show. That's exactly different. Like we would never do that. We would never do that in more of our traditional live event production approach. You would say, hey, if I'm going to actually direct, the cameras or call the cameras for the IMAG, I'm there for the whole week. Right. All the rehearsals, all the tech rehearsals, all the way through. I would never let somebody step in last second and actually hit the buttons, right, call the cameras. And that's a very different thing.
That's a thing that, man, honestly, that took me a while to get my head around, because I was doing it the way you described. That's the normal thing, right? If we're going to go do a big rock show or a country show or whatever, you're going to rehearse the whole time and get your chops as good as you can, and then you're going to execute. And that's how it goes. Here, we're trying to figure out, how can I make this so seamless to transfer some of these thoughts and vision and heart behind what we're doing to someone who just walked in the door and hasn't been here for 6 days. They've not been thinking about this for 6 days. I have. There's a challenge, because a lot of us as technical people, our identity is kind of wrapped up in what we do, which isn't healthy, but that's what happens. You think about it. How many people do you know in the industry that they are known as Andrew the touring guy? They're not known as Andrew the great husband, or Andrew the spiritual leader, Jim the amazing lighting designer. Well, that becomes your identity, and that's really hard to live up to.
Sorry to interrupt you. As you're saying that, it's like I'm totally envisioning, why can't that be somebody's title? And then be like, oh, and by the way, he's a great projectionist.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
why can't it be like, that's so-and-so, he's a great husband, he's a great person to talk to when we're off the clock, he's a great motivator, inspirer, and by the way, he is the LD or the A1 that you, or even the A2 or stagehand, whatever. He's that person that you have to have on your show because he gives his all.
Man, why don't we make sure we're healthy in our head, in our hearts, and our spirit, and thinking about this the right way versus how can I go have the coolest mix this week? That will come. I'm confident that will come. God's not going to, he didn't set me up to lose, but I think he wants something more for me that's something I can carry my whole life. I'm not somewhere. I mean, I'm sitting in an office and I've got gold records all the way around the room. That's great. I've got to mix a lot of stuff. Cool. Who cares? At some point, my ears I'm not going to hear as well as I used to, right? And I'm not going to be able to go do this to this degree. My eyesight will start failing. My arthritis will kick in and it'll be hard to run a chain motor. Who cares? But what have I done to influence people? What have I done to help people? What kind of a husband have I been? Did I take care of my family the right way? Did I protect my heart? That becomes this great balance and this balancing act of how can you do all this stuff? I fail at this all the time. I mean, this is a constant thing I have to keep in front of me, or it'll just go the wrong way immediately. But if I take care of the stuff in front of me, the spiritual side, who Andrew is as a person, that the other stuff then comes real easily. I find that I don't have to work nearly as hard to like go put together and help produce a live event or execute a live event or put together all that stuff. It kind of flows out of it. Does that make sense? Because the other stuff is sort of together. And that I do not mean that I've got it all together, because I don't. I'm just saying I've tried to change the focus a little bit on what's important to me.
So Andrew Stone, I have a question for you as we wrap this up. What do you want your legacy to be?
You know what? I want people, the legacy for me, I literally want people to say, that guy led us well. That's it. I don't want somebody to, I haven't listened to a record I've mixed in years and I don't even care. It doesn't matter. Those were great at the time and it was what I did, but I don't care. I don't walk around with a resume of backstage passes hanging around my neck anymore, right? You've met those guys who walk in with every credential they've ever had in their life, on their neck. I don't have a bunch of pictures of cool shows we've done on my phone. That's all great and I love it. But I want other people to be like, he kept us grounded and he led us well, and I became better because he was around. That to me would be great, because that means that you were able to mentor someone and you were able to pour into them something that I had. I had people in my life early on that I did not deserve the chances I got. I didn't deserve it. Several people I can think of in particular who were kind of old touring salts. They've got a lot of stuff. They've done everything and they're not impressed by anything anymore, right? You've met those people, they've just done so much, it's all cool. They let me fail miserably, but with guidance, if that makes sense, because they knew that I would get it and that I would need that as a training tool. That was huge to me, and they poured into me in ways that I could never repay. And I didn't know it at the time, but I know it now. I look back and go, man, those guys were mentors. I didn't even know what a mentor was in my 20s. I had no idea what that was. But I look at it now and go, I owe it to the to the universe, to God, to whatever, to try and do the same thing to the guys that I'm around now. That's what I would hope. If there was any kind of legacy, I hope that I led you well and I inspired you well to become better than I was. That to me is awesome. So if I'm in I don't think I'm ever going to go in an old folks home. I'd rather have an old RV and be sitting beside a ocean somewhere, right? But I would love to see people that I got to work with that have gone on to carry the torch and do it even cooler than I could have. That would be the most satisfied feeling I could think of.
Well, Andrew, I just can't thank you enough. This was awesome, man. You delivered gold as I knew you would. You are, not only just in your position of leadership, right, inside of your church and inside of Church on the Move, but also there's a lot that the greater production industry can kind of pull from that in terms of behavior, in terms of approach to the experience or to the production or to the show, depending on what you're coming at it from and what industry. But there's a lot there to be had. And I think that what you've gone through personally, just in that switch from touring to Church on the Move, and the insights and the stuff that you've learned already is huge. So thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate your time today.
Man, thanks for having me on. This has been great to discuss some of this stuff. And man, my only hope is that somebody listens to this who this resonates with. Man, because there's just every single day there is something to be learned about how we can do this better and how we can be a bigger part of reaching people and being an example to them. So thanks for having me on to talk about it.
You betcha. All right. Well, for everybody else, thanks again. If you know anybody out there that would be, has a really great story, something to share, please reach out to Clem or to I individually, or find us at Production Channel. The point is, we want to bring awesome stories to this industry. That's what we're all about. So next time you're flying from gig to gig, or preparing for your next event or show or news gathering, whatever it is, and you got an extra moment, please tune into the Production Channel. With that said, I appreciate it, Clem. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And we will see you guys next week on the Production Channel.
Chatter.